Hi there. We've had a request from one of our clients as far as opening someone's eyes or replacing someone's eyes and making them look normal. So this picture here, I'm going to show you, this is what I started with. And I'll bring it up so you can see her eyes are not good. And when I was all done, that's what I ended up with. So we started with this, and we're going to end up with that. I'm going to show you how I did that, and I'm going to start by saying what you want to try to do is try to find another picture of this woman, this bride, where her head is in the same similar position. Okay, so I'm going to drag that down, and let's see, I found this picture here. And I thought, well, her head is pretty much straight on to the camera, but her head is tipped, but that's not a problem. The other thing is, when I first opened it, this is what it looked like. So then I did some auto levels, then I did some more work with levels, changed the color balance a little bit, and from there, that's what I'm going to use to open her eyes on the other picture. So I'm going to go back to the other picture for a minute. Excuse me. I'm going to bring it back to the original image with her eyes closed. So from here, I'm going to take this number 65 image, I'm going to hit Alpha Lasso, and I'm going to circle her whole head. I generally don't do just the eyes because I want to make sure that I have enough to work with. I can always erase extra stuff, but I can't go back and get it. So if it's there, at least I have it to work with. So now I'm going to hit V for move, and I'm going to drag this part right over to this other picture here. And her picture that I dragged over is way bigger, and she's tipped, so I'm going to start by doing Command T, which is free transform. I'm going to hold down my shift key to keep her in perspective, and I'm going to drag her in to make her head a little smaller. And then I'm going to also tip her just a little to straighten her head out a little bit. There still will be a slight difference in the way her head is tipped, but I think overall it ended up working out very well for me. So I'm going to say OK and hit enter. From there, I'm going to drag this over my other picture, and I'm going to go to my layer palette, and I'm going to decrease the opacity of the layer that I just put on top. So I'm going to go up to opacity and bring it down. Sometimes I do about 50, 70%, depending on what I really need to see. So I can see immediately that her mouth is bigger, her eyes are bigger, so I still need to make her smaller. I'm going to do Command T again, which if you're on a PC, it's a Control T. Bring her in again, holding down the Shift key so I keep her in perspective. That's pretty close, but I think what I started out by doing was matching up her ear, which will end up changing things again. Holding down the shift again, I'm going to bring her face in a little bit more so that maybe that's a little closer to where I need to be size-wise. I'm going to try it again a little bit more, and I'm going to hit enter. From here, I'm going to change the opacity of that layer up to 100% again, and that looks pretty good. So I'm going to stop erasing, and I'm going to increase the size of my eraser using my right bracket key on my keyboard. And the opacity of it, for now, I'm going to keep it at 100%. And I'm going to keep it a soft edge brush. So I'm going to start by erasing and just see if I can go into her hair. So I'm like, okay, well, so far so good. I'm going to erase her ear. And that, let's undo that, which is Command Z. I just want to get the edge. Okay, so I'm going to erase what I don't need. Definitely don't need down here. I'm going to try the edge of her hair again up here. That works. Come out here. Erase this part here. And erase, down in here. My mouse is kind of crazy. It jumps all over the place on me. From here, I mean, you could pretty much say that's good. But that's not what I did. All right, so I'm going to show you. For now, right now, what we have is from there to there. And if I hit V to move, I'm moving that layer that I just dragged over on top. I could use my arrow keys and bring her over, which I'm going to do because I think if I lower the opacity again, when I'm doing this type of thing, I'm constantly changing the opacity up and down to keep seeing what I'm working with. I'm going to try by putting her eye, her left eye on top of her left eye. And I think that if I were to go with just that, looks pretty good. So for now, I'm going to say that looks good, and I'm going to raise that layer up to 100%. But of course, it looks a little deformed. So what I want to do is I want to make a duplicate layer, because on this layer, I'm going to work with just this eye. Then I'm going to duplicate that layer and then work with just her right eye. So start by doing Command J, which makes a duplicate layer, layer 1 copy. Okay, so now again I'm going to use my eraser, and I'm going to erase everything but that, her left eye. Oh, got to be on the right layer. Let's go back to history and let's undo those erasers I did. Go back to layers. I want to be erasing layer 1, which I'm going to shut off the eye on my duplicate layer so I can see what I'm erasing. Okay, so I'm just erasing everything except that eye. Excuse me very much. Sorry about that. Alright, so for right now, that's all I'm using from that layer 1, original layer 1. And so I'm going to turn my background back on, and now I'm going to turn my layer 1 back on. Now with layer 1, I'm going to highlight that layer, work with that layer. I'm going to decrease the opacity again a little bit, bring it up a little bit more, hit my V to move, and I'm going to try and line up her right eye with her right eye. I'm going to lower opacity a little bit more. Let's try right about there. And what I'm looking for is like her eyelashes, her eyebrow, the little indent part right here on her eye. And if I get it close, then from there I can hit my V tool and just move it to where I want it. So let's see. And you can never kind of move it around enough. I'm going to go with right there. I'm going to turn the opacity up on my layer 1 copy, and I'm going to try erasing again. I'm going to lower this down a little bit. Now on this one here, I'm going to be erasing that eye, erasing under here, erasing her forehead, and the side right here, her eyebrow, under the eye. Alright, so on my layer 1 copy, that's what I had, that's what I'm going with, and that's not bad. Her nose is okay. Let's see. So if I erase my background and I shut off my background, turn off my layer 1, that's all I'm using on layer 2. So I'm going to turn them both back on, and I'm going to say, okay, that's without it, that's with it. That looks pretty good. The only thing I'm going to try to do is I'm going to do Command T again, which all of a sudden now, because my original image was way bigger. See how my my lines here are outside. So I want to hit Command 0, shows me all of them. So I just want to try to make that a little bit bigger. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and drag it up very carefully right like there, hit enter, bring it up again, hit V to move it. I'm going to move it back down. Yeah, let's see. Alright, so if I say go to history, I'm going to take a snapshot of that. Okay, this is what I have now. This is what I started with, and that's what I have now. So that is better. I think I did better when I was playing before. But it gives you the rough idea. If you're not happy with it, you can just, you know what you can do? You can go back to your layers, throw away your layer 1 copy, go back to layer 1. Oh, but you already erased, so you probably just have to go back to here, drag this over again, and go for working with just that, her right eye. Alright? So history, let's go back to This is what you start with, that's what you finish with. All right? And of course you would want to flatten that image before you do anything else with it and work with it as a JPEG versus a Photoshop document. All right? So that is a way that you can open someone's eyes. If you can't find her eyes, you find someone else that has maybe similar eyes. And again, it does not matter what they look like or how big their head is compared to the size of her head. What really matters is the way the eyes are looking at the camera, and maybe you want to find someone that has dark eyes. Of course, with a bride, you're going to have many pictures of her, so that makes life a lot easier. But in the end, we've opened eyes for people that had their eyes closed by using somebody else's eyes, and no one has ever really said, hey, those aren't my eyes. So whatever works, you know. All right, so good luck on that, and we'll see you on the next one.